This story is titled, My Wife Abandoned Me to Find Herself. When she came back, she found divorce papers waiting instead. Now she is begging me to reconsider. Hey everyone! Before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now let's start the video. Hey everyone, I don't really know how to start this, so I'll just dive right in. I've been sitting on this story for a while now, and I don't know if it's because I'm still trying to process everything, or because I've been so busy holding my life together. Either way, here we are. So, I'm 48 male, my wife Donna, 47 woman. We've been married for 25 years. Well, almost 25 years, if that still even counts anymore. We've got two great kids, a daughter, 22, finishing college, and a son, 20, who's in the military. Life wasn't perfect, but we made it work. And for most of those years, I thought we were a team. The last 5 years or so have been hard, though. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Donna's mom developed dementia in her early 60s, and when her dad passed away, there was really no one else to take care of her. So, Donna asked if we could move her in. And look, I'm not a monster. I didn't love the idea, but I knew how important it was to her, and I agreed. What I didn't realize back then was how much it would take out of both of us. Anyone who's cared for someone with dementia knows exactly what I'm talking about. The days become this endless loop of helping, reminding, and cleaning up messes. Just imagine you're constantly exhausted, watching someone you care about slip away a little more every day. Donna took it the hardest. She was constantly stressed, worrying about her mom, and worrying that she'd end up the same way. During COVID, it was like we were trapped in a bubble of stress. Both of us worked from home, so there was no escaping it. Her mom would wander around the house, forgetting where she was, or she'd get upset over something small and completely lose it. Donna would cry at night sometimes, telling me she didn't think she could handle it anymore, and I'd sit there and tell her we were in it together. When her mom finally moved into a memory care facility earlier this year, I thought, okay, we've made it through the worst of it. Things are going to get better now. But the damage was already done. Donna wasn't the same. She felt guilty for putting her mom in another home. She told me she felt like time was slipping away from her, like she didn't have long before dementia got her too. I tried to reassure her, but nothing I said ever seemed to land. We'd always talked about traveling once the kids were out of the house and her mom was taken care of. That was the plan. We'd sell the house, quit our jobs, and travel the world together. We even had a timeline. Summer of 2023. We saved for it. We talked about it for years. I still remember when Donna said that one day, it'll just be you, me, and the open road. She talked about driving through small towns, staying in little bed and breakfasts, and waking up without a plan. We'd sit for hours, imagining places we'd go. Greece, Italy, the Grand Canyon. She'd get this look on her face like she could already see it, and I believed her. I thought it was something we were both looking forward to. I thought we were both still on the same page. Then, one day, I came home from running some errands and saw something sitting on the kitchen table. A letter. I didn't think much of it at first. I figured it was some mail she left out for me. But when I opened it, my stomach dropped. It said, I'm sorry. I need to find myself. I love you, but I can't keep living like this. Please try to understand. I'll be back when I'm ready. I can't even describe what it felt like reading that. I actually stood there for a minute, holding the note, trying to process it. Like, I couldn't understand the words I was seeing. She left, just like that. No fight, no warning, no discussion, just gone. I looked around the house, and that's when I started processing things. Half her clothes were gone. Some of her favorite things were missing. It wasn't like she'd gone to stay with a friend for a weekend. She left. I tried calling her. Straight to voicemail. I texted her too, asking where she was, asking if she was okay. No response. My brain went into panic mode, running through every possibility. Did something happen? Was she safe? Then I checked our bank accounts. That's when I saw it. She'd taken most of our savings. It wasn't just her money. It was our money. Money we'd saved for years for that trip we were supposed to take together. I can't even tell you what I felt seeing that number. Shock, anger, betrayal. Like every emotion just hit me at once. For the next couple of days, I couldn't focus on anything. I kept trying to reach her, but it was like she disappeared off the face of the earth. Then, a week later, my daughter was pacing around the kitchen, phone in hand, shaking her head like she couldn't believe what she was looking at. Dad, she looks happy. How does she look happy? She turned her phone to me, showing the picture of Donna, laughing with a bunch of strangers. There was Donna, sitting on a beach somewhere, sunglasses on, surrounded by people I didn't recognize, total strangers. Not a single familiar face. I remember staring at their fake smiles and thinking, who are these people? Like, how do you just up and join a group of randoms when you've got a whole family at home? The caption read, "Cheers to freedom, new beginnings, and finding happiness." I don't know what kind of freedom she thought she was celebrating, but it sure as hell wasn't mine. Does she not care about us at all? My daughter asked, her voice cracking. I didn't know how to answer. What was I supposed to say? That the woman who raised her, who sat at her soccer games, who hugged her through every heartbreak, had just up and left? I put my hand on her shoulder and said, I don't know, kiddo. I wish I had an answer. She didn't cry. Instead, she muttered, I don't even know who she is anymore, before walking back to her room and slamming the door. That hit me harder than anything. Seeing my daughter, who used to idolize her mom, look at her like she was a stranger. It wasn't just the money. It was the fact that she chose to leave. She didn't just walk out on me. She walked out on her family, on the life we built together for 25 years. She didn't even care how this would affect our kids. And she didn't care that I was the one left picking up the pieces. For days, I kept staring at my phone, waiting for a text, a call, something. But it never came. And that's when I started to realize something that stuck with me ever since. Donna didn't leave because of me. She left because she doesn't want to be responsible anymore. And that's when the real mess started. The next couple of days were chaos. I checked every joint account we had and realized she'd been planning this for a while. It seems that she planned carefully for our trip that turned out to be hers. She drained nearly all of our shared savings, money we'd been putting aside for years. Our future, poof, gone. I tried calling her again. Straight to voicemail. I sent texts. Nothing. It was like she disappeared. My daughter, who was still in college at the time, tried reaching out too. She got one text back. Donna said, I love you, but I need this. You'll understand when you're older. Tell your brother I'm okay. Understand? Understand what? That my wife just quit her life and family so she could play single and free? Yeah, no. It got worse when Donna started posting more on Instagram. She wasn't just at some random beach. There were cruises, nights out at clubs, dinners at fancy restaurants. Stuff that we were supposed to do together. In every picture, she was surrounded by this group of people who clearly had zero responsibilities. I don't know how she found them. Were they some old friends I'd never met? Some online group? All I knew was she looked like she was having the time of her life. The captions were even worse. Stuff like, you only get one life. Don't waste it. Thankful for friends who lift you up. Lift you up? Where were they when we were dealing with her mom? Where were they when she was crying at night, worried she'd end up with dementia? I guess those friends are only fun when you've got money to spend and nothing tying you down. But there's one post that made me lose my shit, she actually said. Grateful for my amazing husband, who understands and supports me through this journey. I wanted to throw my phone across the room. I wasn't supporting anything. I didn't even know where she was. It was like she was trying to paint this picture where I was just smiling at home, waving her off like this was all part of some big plan. Meanwhile, I was scrambling to figure out how to pay the bills she left me with. The mortgage was due. The car payments were due. The utilities didn't care that my wife ran off with most of our money. I'd always been careful with finances, but I never expected I'd have to run this household on my own, with zero warning. After a few weeks, I started to see the bigger picture. Donna didn't just find herself. She was running away from the life we built, from the hard parts, from the responsibilities. I thought we'd been a team through all of this, but now I realized she'd been stewing in resentment for years, and instead of talking to me like an adult, she bolted. I sat down with my kids to explain everything. I didn't want them to hear my side through bitterness, but I also wasn't going to lie for her. My son, who's stationed across the country, was pissed. I could hear it in his voice. He actually called me before, his voice tight with frustration. Dad, what the hell is going on? I just got a text from Mom, and she's acting like everything's fine. She sent me a picture of a damn sunset and wrote, Hope you're doing well, miss you. Miss me? What does that even mean? He paused, and I could hear him take a breath to calm down. Dad, she doesn't get to pretend like this isn't a big deal. She doesn't get to send me pictures of sunsets like nothing's wrong. You're right, I told him. She doesn't. So has she talked to you? Given you a real reason? I wanted to say something that would ease his anger, but there wasn't anything to say. No, I admitted. She left a note, took the money, and disappeared. I don't get it, Dad. How do you do that? How do you just leave your family like that? I don't know, son, I replied, trying to keep my own voice steady. I don't know. And my daughter, though, she just kept shaking her head, scrolling through her mom's Instagram like she couldn't believe what she was seeing. Dad, this isn't normal, she said. Mom's acting like she's 25, running around with these people. I didn't say it out loud, but I was thinking the same thing. Donna looked younger than she was, and she'd always been kind of obsessed with staying that way. She took care of herself, worked out, always put effort into looking good. I used to admire that about her. Now, though, it just seemed like she wanted to erase the life we'd spent decades building. The irresponsibility of it all blew my mind. Here's a woman who spent years complaining that we couldn't do this or that because we had too many responsibilities. And now she was just throwing it all out the window. Like the rest of us were still here, living in the same reality she decided to bail on. It's not like I expected her to act like a martyr, but I also didn't think she'd just abandon us. That's the part I couldn't wrap my head around. She'd always been the organized one, the planner, and yet she left everything behind without thinking twice. The thing that really got me, though? She was texting our daughter every few days with things like, "I miss you. I just need time. I'll come back when I'm ready." Like she was off on some spiritual retreat, not living it up with her new group of friends in Bali or wherever she'd ended up. Ready for what, though? To come home and pretend nothing happened? She really believed that after all this, she could just waltz back into our lives like we'd been waiting for her return. That's when the anger started to settle in. At first, I was too shocked to feel anything but confused, but now I was starting to see Donna for what she was doing. She wasn't just lost or confused, she was being selfish, plain and simple. And if she thought I'd sit here forever, waiting for her to figure herself out, she was dead wrong. After a month of watching my wife live it up on social media like some influencer on a permanent vacation, I finally started to accept the reality of it. What really got under my skin wasn't just that she'd left, it was how shameless she was about it. Every time I thought she couldn't possibly surprise me anymore, she'd post something new. It's one thing to leave, but it's another to make it look like you're a free spirit just living your truth, while your husband's at home drowning in bills and your kids don't even know what to think. One day, she posted a video on her story. It was a bunch of her women and some men friends. In the background, you could hear someone saying, "Donna, you've got to stay with us for the New Year's party." And she said, "Oh, I'm not going anywhere. I'm free now." Free. That word again. Like she'd been shackled to something for 25 years instead of being part of a marriage, raising kids, building a life. It made my blood boil. I vented to a couple of close friends, and they all said the same thing. You need to talk to a lawyer. The thing was, I'd already done that. I sat down with my lawyer the week after Donna left. She told me that legally there wasn't much I could do yet, because technically she hadn't abandoned anything but me. If I wanted a divorce, I'd have to wait for her to come back, or at least make herself available to be served papers. In the meantime, I shut down every credit card she could still use, froze anything she might try to access, and made sure her phone was off our family plan. The phone thing turned out to be pretty genius on my part, because when I blocked international calling, she ended up removing herself from the plan completely. Small victories, I guess. A couple of weeks later, I heard from my daughter. She called me after getting off the phone with Donna, her voice shaking with frustration. Apparently, Donna told her something along the lines of, "I just need to live before it's too late. You'll understand one day when you have your own family." That sent me over the edge. My daughter, bless her, tried to talk some sense into her. She told Donna how hurt we all were, how this wasn't just her life to run away from. And what did Donna say? "I need to be selfish right now. I'll come back when I'm ready." Selfish? No kidding. It wasn't long after that conversation that I saw her post something about being in Bali with her tribe. Her tribe. She had a new word for her group of freeloaders now. I swear she sounded like someone who'd read too many self-help books. Here I was, working long days to keep the house and cars paid for, making sure our kids didn't completely spiral from this, and she was dancing barefoot at some beach bonfire with her new tribe. No responsibilities, no shame. At one point, I actually started wondering if she planned any of this out before she left. Did she meet these people online? Were they some kind of group who convinced her to run away? The more I thought about it, the more it felt like she'd been preparing for months. She must have had the trip planned. She must have been talking to these people. Hell, she probably quit her job weeks before I even noticed she was unhappy. But the thing is, whenever I tried asking her for an address to send her legal paperwork, because yes, I was done waiting, she texted back, "We'll talk about it when I'm ready to come back." She actually believed she could just waltz back into our lives, like we'd all been sitting around waiting for her to find herself. I guess that Donna didn't think she'd done anything wrong. In her mind, this was all perfectly justified. She deserved this, and we were supposed to understand. The entitlement was insane. By the end of that month, I'd had enough. The anger was starting to outweigh the confusion. This wasn't some midlife crisis anymore. This was who she was now. And I wasn't about to sit here and play the role of the supportive husband. So, the next day, I called my lawyer again. I told her I was ready to file for divorce. She has to find a way. No more waiting, no more hoping. I wanted out. She told me we couldn't officially file yet because Donna was still off-grid, but we could have everything ready to go. The papers were drawn up, asset division, repayment for the money she took, the whole thing. The lawyer explained that since I'd been keeping up with the mortgage and the bills alone, the courts would likely factor that in. The plan was simple. When Donna came back, because eventually she'd get served. No explanations, no apologies, just papers. I'll be honest, deciding to divorce her wasn't easy. You don't spend 25 years with someone and just let that go overnight. But I wasn't the one who left. I wasn't the one who drained our savings and posted selfies with random strangers in Bali, while my family picked up the pieces. Donna made her choice. Now I was making mine. Thanksgiving was coming up, and I wasn't sure what to do at first. My daughter didn't want to stay home. Too many memories of family dinners with her mom. I didn't blame her. My son couldn't come back from his base, so it was just the two of us. Then, out of nowhere, Donna's sister called me. She invited us to their house for Thanksgiving. At first, I didn't know what to say. Wouldn't it be weird? I didn't want to show up and have everyone staring at me, wondering what Donna was doing. But her sister said something that stuck with me. Don't let her choices stop you from having a family. So I said yes. We drove up to Donna's sister's house the day before Thanksgiving. I was nervous as hell, but when we walked in, it wasn't awkward. It wasn't weird. Donna's family hugged me, hugged my daughter, and treated us like nothing had changed. I think they were embarrassed by what Donna had done, but no one talked about it directly. They just welcomed us in and tried to make it a good day. At one point, Donna's mom's name came up in conversation, and I thought it might get weird, but instead, her brother put his hand on my shoulder and said, "You did right by her, man." We all know that. That was the first time in months that I didn't feel completely alone. My daughter and I sat around the table, eating and laughing with everyone, and I wondered if Donna even realized what she'd thrown away. She wasn't there, but we were, and we still felt like a family. When we got back home, my daughter posted a picture of us from Thanksgiving. Just a normal photo of us smiling with her aunt and uncle. Nothing shady, nothing dramatic. I didn't think much of it, until Donna texted my daughter 2 days later. "I saw the picture. I hope you're both okay. I'll be back for Christmas. We'll talk then." I didn't even need to say anything. My daughter just showed me the text and said, "She's got some nerve." I smiled a little and shook my head, because what Donna didn't know was that by Christmas, I'd be ready. The papers were ready. My lawyer was ready. And when she came back thinking we'd talk, she was in for a surprise. The weeks leading up to Christmas were quieter than I expected. I wasn't hearing much from Donna. She wasn't posting as much on Instagram either. No beach pictures, no group dinners, nothing. It was like she was winding down, but not in a good way. I started wondering what was next for her. Did she think this little escape was going to last forever? She had no job, no home, as far as I knew, and she'd burned through most of the money she took. Maybe reality was catching up to her. In the meantime, I was preparing for her return. My lawyer and I made sure the divorce papers were ready to go. She explained that since I'd been paying for the mortgage, bills, and everything else, the courts would take that into consideration. Donna would owe me for what she took, and we'd split assets based on what was fair, not what she thought she was entitled to. I also made sure the house was locked down. The locks were changed. The security code was updated. The emergency key that used to be hidden under the flower pot? Gone. I wasn't taking any chances. I didn't know what to expect when Donna came back, but I knew one thing. She wasn't walking back into my house like she still lived here. I tried to keep my daughter in the loop as much as I could without putting too much weight on her shoulders. She was already angry with her mom, and I didn't want to make it worse. One night, she asked me if I thought Donna really meant to come back for Christmas. She said she'll be here, I told her, so I'm ready for her. Do you think she'll be sorry? I thought about that for a second before I answered. I don't know, but even if she is, it doesn't change what she did. A few days before Christmas, I got another text from Donna. Short and simple. "I'll be in town on the 23rd. Let's talk." That was it. No apology. No explanation. Just, let's talk. I stared at that text for a while, half expecting to feel something. Anger, maybe. Sadness. But there was nothing. If anything, I felt relieved. Relieved that I finally had a plan, that I wasn't waiting around anymore. I texted back one word. Okay. The truth is, there was nothing left to talk about. Donna didn't understand that yet, but she would. When she showed up on my doorstep thinking we were going to have some long, emotional conversation, I'd be handing her the divorce papers. Christmas was going to be different this year, but I was ready for it. On the 23rd, I cleaned up the house, made sure everything was in order, and sat down to wait. My daughter was at her friend's place for the night, which was probably for the best. I didn't want her to see what was about to go down. When I finally heard the doorbell ring, my heart was pounding, but I kept my face calm. I opened the door, and there she was, Donna, standing there like nothing had changed. She looked good, of course. She always did. but there was something in her eyes, like maybe she was expecting me to be happy to see her. I didn't say anything at first. I just looked at her. "Hi," she said, smiling a little, like this was just another day. I didn't smile back. I reached behind me, grabbed the manila envelope off the table, and handed it to her. "What's this?" she asked, her smile fading. "Divorce papers," I said. Donna blinked like she hadn't heard me right. "What? Why?" I looked her dead in the eyes and said, "You left. You made your choice. This is mine." And just like that, the conversation was over. She stood there frozen. I don't know what she expected when she showed up, but it definitely wasn't that. For a second, I thought she might start crying, but instead she looked at the envelope in her hands and said, "You didn't have to do this." That one line almost made me lose it. "I didn't have to?" I repeated. "You left. You took our savings, ran off with strangers, and acted like I was fine with it. You're the one who did this, Donna, not me." She opened her mouth like she was going to argue, but then she stopped. For the first time in months, I think she realized how far gone everything was. She stepped back a little, like she couldn't decide if she wanted to come in or leave. "Can I come inside?" she finally asked, her voice quieter now. "No," I said. I wasn't rude about it. I wasn't yelling or being dramatic. I was just done. Done letting her make the rules. Done letting her walk in and out of my life like nothing happened. For a moment, we just stood there, her on the porch and me in the doorway. She looked around like she was taking in the house, the yard, the home she'd abandoned. I wondered what was going through her mind. Was she regretting it? Was she embarrassed? Did she even care? "Can we at least talk?" she asked. "Please?" I sighed, feeling more tired than angry. "There's nothing left to talk about, Donna. The papers say everything you need to know." She stared at me for another moment, then looked down at the envelope again. Without another word, she turned and walked back to her car. I watched her drive away. Christmas Eve was quiet. My daughter came home, and we spent the night watching movies and wrapping a few gifts. I didn't bring up Donna, and neither did she. We were both tired of talking about it. At one point, my daughter asked me, "Do you think Mom's going to sign the papers?" "I don't know," I said honestly. "But either way, we're moving forward." Donna was gone. Maybe she'd been gone long before she physically left. Maybe the woman I married was already slipping away, 1 year at a time, while I was too busy holding everything together to notice. Either way, she wasn't coming back. Not really. And that was okay. The following weeks were all about tying up loose ends. My lawyer let me know that we could move forward with the divorce even if Donna refused to cooperate. I didn't expect her to fight it, though. She'd been too busy chasing sunsets and vague ideas of freedom to care about what came next. By mid-January, Donna finally signed the papers. No message, no explanation, just her signature at the bottom of the page. When my lawyer called to tell me it was done, I didn't feel the relief I thought I would. It wasn't some big moment where I threw my fists in the air and celebrated. It just felt like closing a door that had been cracked open for too long. I hope she finds whatever it is she thinks she's chasing. I really do, but it won't be with me. It's been a few months now, and life feels steady. The house is quieter, but in a good way. I ended up selling it, downsized to a smaller place that doesn't feel so empty. I started seeing friends again, picked up a few hobbies I'd let fall to the side over the years. My kids are doing okay too. My daughter's about to graduate, and my son's thriving in the military. We've all settled into this new reality, and honestly, it's better than I expected. Looking back, I don't regret the years I spent with Donna. I don't regret the sacrifices, the hard times, or even the good ones. What I regret is letting myself believe I had to hold it all together on my own, that I had to wait for her to decide she was done finding herself to get my life back. I didn't, and I'm finally starting to see that. So, to anyone out there dealing with something similar, waiting for someone who's already made their choice, let me tell you this. You don't have to wait. You don't have to hold on to something that's already gone. Sometimes letting go is the best thing you can do. And for me, that's exactly what I did. Thanks for reading until the very end.